I have some serious trouble talking to a camera. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first video of this channel. This particular video, I decided that I'm going to try and build myself a portfolio. So I don't have a portfolio right now, and I'm going into my senior year. So I figured now is probably the best time to build one. Also, we're all on lockdown during quarantine, so I have some free time. And so going into next fall, when I'm looking for jobs and full-time positions, this will be an easy thing to show people all the side projects I've done, as well as my ability to create a website. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to go through this writing Django web app part 1, and all the parts most likely, and just see if I can get a good base for an application, get something stood up in Django so I can see how it works. Alright, so I'll give a brief explanation of what I'm actually doing, or what this tutorial's had me do so far. So let's pull up the code. So first, all we did was create the basic hello world. So right here, I'll link the tutorial down below too, so that you guys can follow it if you're interested in learning Django. But so we have this hello world page, which comes from, we created a polls application. And then in that, we created a URL that just has the basic path of nothing after polls. And we created a view that just returns hello world. And then in the my site in the actual project, the my site, we added the path to polls, and included the polls URLs that I showed here. So when you run this and you go to the polls and you go to polls page, it will actually display what's supposed to be displayed on that page. Then we set up the admin panel, which comes built in with Django, and we also set up a database. So the database, we created a model for questions and a model for choice, and then you can actually see these models. I'm going to stop the app real quick. You can actually see that when you do this, it creates this is the SQL for it creating these actual things. So we created a table with the polls question table, and it automatically gives it an ID, and then these are the two things we specified in the code here, the question text and the pub date, and the same for choice. So now we have a database and we have a working page. Alright, moving on to part 3 of the tutorial. I wonder how many parts it is. So we just created some views right here, and basically what this view does is it takes in a request, which is just it go into the URL if it's at that URL, and then I can't spell, let's fix that, and I can't use Vim key bindings either. So then it also takes in the question ID as the parameter. So the parameter is the question ID, and then in our URLs we use question ID as that URL. So if I go to this URL, we're going to the polls application and then question ID 34, which shouldn't exist, but it doesn't matter because our view isn't really doing anything with it. It's just reprinting out the question ID. You are looking at question 34. So basically, the views allow us to take in parameters from the URL, do something with them, and then return a response. Alright, let's give her a try. It works. Why does it work? Okay, so I finished the Django tutorial online. I'm not really going to give a broad overview of the project. If that's something that you're interested in, I'll link it down below. It was actually a really good tutorial. It's 7 parts, so it takes a good amount of time, but it will give you a pretty good base understanding of Django. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the portfolio. Again, I still don't really know what's going on or what I'm doing, but I figured the best way to learn is just to go ahead and jump in on it. This video probably won't contain the full build because I anticipate it taking me a couple weeks, but hopefully today, tomorrow, however long I decide to film before I edit this video, I'll be able to get out at least a base level kind of a outline for what I want to do, and then we'll pick back up where we left off if anybody actually ends up watching this. Okay, so we were actually able to start styling my portfolio. Super basic. I am by no means an HTML, CSS person. I decided to use Bootstrap because after a little bit of researching, it seemed like that was the easiest. I went on their docs and just tried to figure out something that would be useful for the website that I could go ahead and recreate. So I copied over a little drop-down menu. All of these are not what they're going to be eventually, but for right now, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. And search bar, regular menu, just like you'd see on pretty much any other website. And eventually, these will link to my projects, my resume, whatever else that I want to be on here. Looking at other people, Freed Code Camp has a portfolios to get you inspired or something like that, and looking at other people's, it looks like a pretty simplistic way to go would be a full screen picture like that one, or like something like this. Full screen picture with just a little write-up, nothing super intense, and that should be fairly knock on wood, that should be fairly easy, I would hope. And then from there I can actually start focusing on the actual development part. I just wanted to get the style out of the way for this main part, A, so that I have something to show for this video, and B, so that I can focus more heavily on the back end database coding, or setting up the database with the models, and actually working on the part that I'll probably enjoy a little bit more than the design. Alright, look at that. We got a background now. I think that I'm going to put like a headshot right here in the middle, and then maybe just a little bit about me or something like that, a little write-up about who I am. But I like how this looks. I want to turn the opacity down a little bit because it's kind of right in your face right now. As you can see, not a designer, as I mentioned. Let me close these tabs out, but for a couple hours, I'm pretty happy with this. Also, I recognize that this video was a lot of just kind of time-lapsey me working on this project and not really going over the code, and that's mostly because today was just getting the style down and kind of learning about Django and making a roadmap for the future. So in future videos, I would like to kind of break down what I did and how I'm creating what I'm doing. That way, those of you who are interested in learning are able to kind of watch my videos for entertainment purposes, as well as for learning more about these frameworks, these technologies, and then being able to go work on it yourself.